Cowboy Bebop is such an interesting show to me. It's an episodic anime, meaning that episodes are their own isolated stories, yet it has an amazing overarching plot and character arcs. It's a sci-fi with space travel but still using regular guns instead of laser guns, and it's got a lot of Western elements, yet the majority of the show's music is jazz. It takes all of these contrasting elements and blends them together so perfectly I can't understand how they do it. Watching this show, you literally never know what you're going to get, as one episode could just be a goofy throwaway episode where none of the continuous plot elements are pushed forward, instead it's just about some of the gang's wacky adventures, and the next could be the most heartbreaking episode about one of the characters' backstories, and you're left with complete whiplash, but in a good way weirdly. Or a mix of both, where an episode seems to be another silly adventure, but out of nowhere reveals its true nature and proceeds to body slam your emotions. The episode we're talking about in this video is one of those episodes. And of course, before we get into it, I will be spoiling quite a bit. Not only about this episode, but a lot about Cowboy Bebop as a whole. So if you haven't seen Cowboy Bebop and ever want to watch it, which I highly recommend, consider this your spoiler warning and please click off the video. Now, if you were to ask me what's my favorite episode of Cowboy Bebop, I would, with no hesitation, tell you the Real Folk Blues Part 2, the last episode of the series. This has just all of the greatest moments in the show. The last conversation between Spike and Faye is easily my favorite scene in the entire show. Not to mention the spectacular, quite literally going out with a bang ending. However, that is the finale of the show. It wraps up everything the show had previously set up. If you ask me which episode best encapsulates the essence of Cowboy Bebop, that would be episode 18, Speak Like a Child. Let me also just give some context here. The episode right before this one, episode 17, follows Ed as she gets into goofy hijinks while Spike, Faye, and Jet are tripping balls back on the ship because they ate some magic mushrooms. So if you are binging the show, you get a wacky cartoon episode and then this episode immediately after. Speak Like a Child opens with Faye doing what she loves best, gambling. Betting on horse races in this instance. This is cut together with footage of a fish getting hooked, giving an apt metaphor for Faye's addiction. Faye will be a very important character in this episode, so before continuing describing the events of the episode, let's discuss what we know about her at this point. All of the members of the Bebop crew, excluding Ed, are quite cynical people. Faye is no exception, and is actually more cynical than the others. She can often be lazy, arrogant, and very argumentative with others. She often abandons the Bebop, usually speaking like she's never going to come back, and telling herself she's spent too much time with the members of it. Despite that, she always inevitably comes back. Over time, it becomes apparent to the audience that she is afraid of getting close to the other members of the Bebop. She often acts like she doesn't care for them at all, which is a shared behavior amidst all of the crew. Yet there are a few instances where that veil slips and her true feelings are revealed, especially when it comes to caring for Spike. Faye is also different from Jet and Spike in that, initially, she doesn't have a past she's chasing. Cowboy Bebop is all about the characters being stuck, going nowhere in their lives as they're constantly running from their past. But as they come to realize, their lives can't move forward until they confront their past. Jet and Spike have moments where their pasts come up, and it reveals more about them, and, especially in Jet's case, as Spike's resolution is the last episode of the show, there is catharsis upon the confrontation. For Faye, she has much less of a past to confront. She has plenty to run from, however. In the first instance of Faye's backstory being revealed, we learn that Faye woke up from being in a cryogenic stasis for 50 years. A side effect of this is she does not remember her old life at all. She has no recollection of her childhood, where she's from, or who she used to be. Upon waking up, she is placed in massive amounts of debt she has no way of paying, and the only person she learns to trust ends up betraying her. The only experiences she's had in her life have caused her to become a bitter and mistrusting person, having to constantly stay on the run from various people and agencies that want something from her. She's afraid of trusting Spike and Jet because she's worried they'll betray or abandon her. She does get to confront her past a little by meeting the person who betrayed her again, but after that she doesn't really have anything to chase in her past. That is, until something comes along and changes that. Back in Speak Like a Child, Jet and Ed are talking on the deck of the Bebop. Jet is describing the Japanese fairy tale of Urashima Taro to Ed, specifically describing the mystical box called the Tamate Bako from the story. Right as Jet is describing said box, a package is delivered by drone to the Bebop. It's for Faye, who has just returned to the ship. Upon hearing that a mysterious package has shown up for her, she instantly gets back in her ship and flies away. She worries this box could be from one of the many people coming after her and decides to go away for safety. And for the rest of the episode, Faye isn't really present as she just continues gambling. Jet is angered by this as he had to pay a delivery fee for the package, so he wants to find out what the package is to sell it for money. This is what the vast majority of this episode is, Jet and Spike's wacky adventure to uncover the mystery behind this box. Whatever this package is has been in storage for a while and has been transported all around the solar system. It turns out the package is a Betamax cassette tape, which leads to a scene of Spike and Jet visiting a man obsessed with 20th century media to see if the tape is worth anything. This acts as a haha Spike and Jet don't understand old technology scene. At the time of Cowboy Bebop's airing, part of this scene's humor comes from Spike and Jet not knowing about the technology used at the time, as these machines were quite common when the show came out. Nowadays, nobody uses VHS or Betamax anymore, so Spike and Jet are actually the more relatable ones. They are able to see a fragment of what's on the tape before the machine begins to malfunction. In that small fragment, we can see footage of what looks like Earth, and while we don't see her face, we see a young girl with purple hair. It's pretty obviously a younger version of Faye. Spike fails to make the Betamax work with his martial arts, and Spike and Jet depart to Earth to try and find a Betamax player so they can see what's on that tape. In the meantime, Faye calls Ed on the Bebop, and is upset to hear they didn't wait around for her to return and traveled to Earth without her. It's clear she's feeling lonely by herself, even though she wouldn't admit it. Spike and Jet navigate through a treacherous, abandoned museum in their pursuit of a Betamax player. I'd like to highlight just how lighthearted everything is presented here. The scene early in the store was very purposefully comedic, with the owner being a nerd obsessed with outdated technology, and Spike and Jet's ignorance is set to the max for a funny contrast. Now we get a montage of them with jovial music playing over them climbing through this collapsing building. This is not a serious or dark episode, as of right now. It's just another goofy escapade with Spike and Jet. While navigating the museum, Jet asks why they're even doing this, and Spike responds saying they're on a treasure hunt. Jet asks what treasure they're hunting, and Spike brings up the Tamate Bako, the mystical box from the tale Jet referenced earlier. I am purposely holding off on recounting this tale, but it will be very important later. Jet and Spike reach their destination and bring the first thing they see back, only for it to not work as they grabbed a VHS instead of a Betamax. Faye calls the Bebop once more, inquiring as to whether or not people showed up looking for her before asking about Jet and Spike. Faye decides to finally come back to the ship, claiming she's only doing it because Jet and Spike are lonely without her, though we can infer her real motivations and who's actually the lonely one. Back on the Bebop, they get yet another package. This time it is a Betamax player. They all get to finally watch the tape, though Spike tries to restrict Faye from seeing it until she pays him the money she owes him, but she watches it in secret from a distance anyway. Watching the tape, we see Earth, but clearly a long time ago, before Earth was torn apart by meteor showers and seemingly before space travel was as common as it is in Cowboy Bebop. We also finally get to see young Faye. This recording is a video she made when she was a child as a message to herself in the future. We get to see Faye being a shy and innocent child, basically the complete polar opposite than the grown woman we know now. Spike and Jet are clearly shocked at this too, but no one is more surprised than Faye herself. One of the most crushing details about the tape is just how wholesome young Faye is. She has such a purity and kindness to her, and she speaks softly and supportively to her future self. She asks questions about her future self, wondering what her life will be like in the future, not knowing the complete upheaval waiting for her. The tape ends with young Faye literally cheering for future Faye, saying, "Do your best," and the most powerful phrase, "Don't lose me." The only line spoken in the present during the entire tape is from Faye. She only says one line, and that one line is simply, "I can't remember." And then the episode just ends. That is the biggest tone shift or overall twist in all of Cowboy Bebop. Going from Jet and Spike's adventure for a Betamax with sprinkles of Faye in between, to the most heartbreaking backstory reveal of a character that had the least amount of screen time in the episode of the main three, and the message itself, everything in it is meant to be as contrasting with who Faye is now as possible. Earth is sunny and bright. She's surrounded by friends all as shy and innocent as her. She's openly loving and caring and looking hopefully to the future. Her overwhelming optimism is so crushing because we know she grows into probably the most pessimistic and cynical member of the Bebop. And that phrase, "Don't lose me." Young Faye obviously means lose more like a game, saying do your best to win, but what it more sounds like given the context of the present day, and with Faye saying she doesn't remember, it more comes across as young Faye saying to her future self, "Don't forget me. Don't lose this version of me." And as we know, that is exactly what happened. All that buildup over the course of the episode tried to figure out what is on this tape, only to be the most heartbreaking revelation in the show, and then the episode just ends. Faye's backstory is explored more in the following episodes, but just focusing on this one episode, it is such an emotional, crushing masterpiece of buildup and misdirection. The title of the episode actually comes from an album of the same name from jazz musician Herbie Hancock. Turns out the name came from a belief Hancock had of looking past the troubled times of the 1960s, which is when the album was released, and instead focusing on a brighter future with specifically childlike, not childish, hope for a purer or brighter future. That relates quite a bit to young Faye in this episode. She gives a pure sense of hope that could only come from the innocence of a child, and she gives that hope to Faye and the rest of the Bebop crew, people who find themselves stuck in difficult times who need to look towards a better future. Tying the episode to just one more thing I had to do research on, the Japanese tale of Urashima Taro is referenced a couple times in this episode. We all know how Cowboy Bebop loves its fairy tales. The story is about a fisherman who saves a turtle, and as reward for this good deed is brought to the palace of the Emperor of the Sea. He spends a few days there with the princess, but eventually wants to go back home to see his parents. As he is leaving, he is given the Tabate Bako, a mystical box that he is told to never open. When he is brought back to his hometown, he discovers it has not been a few days, but many, many years, and his home is completely different than how he remembers it. In desperation, he opens the box, only for it to have been containing his own old age, to which he is transformed into an elderly man with a white beard. That story is basically the story of Faye Valentine. She went somewhere where she had no sense of time passing, and she was there for many years. The drone that delivers the box has a turtle drawn on it. The tape is the Tabate Bako. For when she sees its contents, she sees her own old age and how much time has passed since her last life. In the later episodes when she does return to her hometown, it's been so long that it's completely different than how she remembers, and there's no one waiting for her there. I consider Speak Like a Child to be the perfect episode of Cowboy Bebop because within this one episode is everything I love about the show. Goofy antics with lovable characters, great music, and when it matters, amazing moments of genuine emotion and character. The whole ending scene gives such big whiplash from the rest of the episode, and I think that's what makes it work so well. Jet and Spike don't say anything during the ending of the episode, and in previous parts all they did was complain about her. But in this moment, all they do is sit silently in shock, and you can tell they probably feel awful for Faye. And one of the things I find that make the hard-hitting moments in Cowboy Bebop so effective is just how subdued they are. You never get dramatic monologues on how the characters feel. Often the most telling moments are the smallest ones, and Faye, a character rooted in arrogance, sarcasm, and selfishness, getting shown her once beautiful life that was ripped away from her, and the only thing she can say, "I can't remember," cuts deep. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.
Reaching out and moving closer.